Okay, we're in here, and apparently you can't post about Luigi, but I think I realized what that was. I was reposting and quoting somebody else that was a parody account, and it just basically gave me a warning and said, "Oh, this is in violation." And everybody started freaking out at the last minute. But that's what it was. It was a parody account. It was reposting some stuff about Luigi Mangione. Anyway, it doesn't matter because from the beginning, I have seen that Luigi actually did that crime, no matter who was in love with him or trying to date him in prison, or he was some sort of fashion icon. And today he basically was pronounced guilty for this crime. So, you know, I've done nothing wrong and I didn't freak out. I just took care of it. I deleted the tweet and that's it. Guys, relax, breathe. My account is fine, in good standing, always. Since 2009, I've been here. The month of April, I was verified, legacy verified, October 9th, 2016. So it's going to take a lot more than that to actually get rid of me. All right. So, anyway, we are taking a look at my psychic impressions on both these cases because these have both been, very controversial. Bryan Kohberger versus Luigi Mangione. Okay. In the beginning, on day one, on both of these, I had actually seen, and my name is Carla Barron. I am a known psychic profiler. I have been working on crime scenes for decades now. So, what I had seen was Luigi, no matter what you look like, boy, you actually did this and you planned this and it was premeditated. So I knew that and I posted. There is a post, and if you research my post, I'll actually repost my post from 2025 where this began, and I still have the post. And I was posting, pretty much that this guy was guilty. No matter what he was trying to claim or he wasn't involved or whatever it was. And it's not that my word is Bible, but it sort of is with me because, this is my work. This is what I do. I looked at it just very honestly and I saw that, he did this. I looked at Bryan Kohberger right after they arrested him. I mean, I was looking at Idaho for the day that happened. Okay. But then they arrested Bryan Kohberger. He was the guy. He was the guy that they decided, that the authorities decided did this. So I took a look at it, and what I do is I put my thoughts aside. It doesn't matter what I think. And I look psychically at what happened. And what I saw was that Bryan was set up for this. No matter how strange he is, no matter how weird he is, how freaky he is, there is, something that's showing me that he didn't do this. That somebody named him for this. Just like today, somebody named me for putting that post up and said, "Oh, it's the post was flagged about Luigi Mangione." The thing is, my original post was not. I have an original post on there. I'm going to go look. Hold on. I'm going to see if my original post is still even up there. Because I posted about this guy. And okay, repost. Let's see if I reposted it. Okay. Because apparently you can repost from Popbase, but not the parody account. So I was I was in error. I was reposting from a parody account and making my thoughts known that the girls that are after Luigi and trying to date him while he's in prison still want to free him for whatever reason because they fell in love and they knew it was real and whatever. But yeah, that didn't happen. Let me take a look here. I'm going to take a look at my actual post and I'm going to put it up there. Sorry, guys, but this is going to happen. I wonder if I can do this right now. Okay, so hold on. Hopefully I don't lose you guys in this whole thing. But my actual first post on this was, let me take a look at my actual post, because I actually posted that this guy had done this. And, this was, I remember the date, and I was like, hey, I said this way back then. So, guys, stop freaking out, stop having nervous breakdowns over social media. This is an algorithm that handles this stuff. No, my account is going nowhere. I don't freak out over this little stuff ever. I have been on here on this platform since 2009. So I sort of know how things work here. And the only time I was actually shut out of my account was a boyfriend-girlfriend fight that happened recently, and we took care of it between ourselves, and everything's fine. I'm still with him. He's still with me. We're in love. Everything is good. And you know what? I don't freak out about this stuff. I don't lose my mind over what some algorithm says, okay? Or my opinion on something as a psychic profiler. So again, try not to take social media so seriously, guys, but I will repost that when I'm back in there. I'll look it up. I just don't want to lose this podcast by looking up stuff. But I'll look it up again because it was April of 2025. If somebody else can do that for me, that would be great. Michelle, look it up, April 2025, where I said, I have seen since day one that Luigi actually did this, or even before then. I was posting from that day, and I said, sorry, but I don't see, and I made a correlation between Brian Koberger and Luigi Mangione. I actually made that connection, and I said, look, the one guy that everybody thinks did it did not do it. The one guy that they think everybody should free, he actually is guilty. So, for whatever reason, you just can't, and my post was about you can't be a vigilante out there and just, take the law into your hands and just get rid of people. It's still the United States of America, even though in some circles we don't even realize or recognize this country anymore as the country it started out to be, 250 years ago. Just not the same country. Anyway, a lot has happened. So, we're at the same sort of pinnacle that we were during Revolutionary War times. But Michelle, if you can find that out for me, or even Indigo, if you can find that out for me. But actually, it's in, if you just put Psychic Carla Barron plus Luigi Mangione plus Brian Koberger, you should see the post. It'll come up. Because I never deleted it. It's in my bookmarks. I just can't look for it right now because I'm a little busy. I'm in the middle of a podcast. So if one of you guys can find it and post it to me on my page, I've got my notifications up so I can see it. And I will put it out there. Anyway, bottom line, what's happening with this? Luigi made his point, but he didn't get away with it, is the bottom line. Brian Koberger has yet to make his point. So I'm kind of waiting on his defense, seeing what he comes forward with on his own. He obviously has something worth talking about, or he wouldn't have asked for a reversal of his plea. So let's talk about that. The law is still the law, even if we don't like it, guys. So Brian's been in prison for a while. There are some women that have attached themselves to him, but I am not one of them. I do not attach myself to people that have been arrested for crimes. It's just not something I do. But when I look at this, when I look at both these cases, yes, both of them are fairly arrogant in their personality profile. Yes, they are both arrogant. They both, go up against the quote establishment. Both of these guys, Brian and Luigi, they both go in, guns blazing when they've been arrested, except the difference is that you'll notice how calm both of them were. And that doesn't automatically make you guilty. Brian Koberger was sort of placed in a position because he was weird. And the people around him decided to use that. And just like somebody could report me for stuff on Twitter, let's say they're reporting me for things, and all of a sudden I look like I'm some guilty, fraudulent psychic who does all these things. First of all, no. Second of all, no. And I have quite a prolific career. And my testimonials, I didn't write. Other people wrote them. Yes, I'm in charge of my website. Yes, I'm in charge of uploading those testimonials. Are they sanctioned by each person who wrote it? Yes, because I send the testimony. Okay, so why don't I allow people onto my website to upload testimonials by themselves? Well, number one, a lot of times some of the testimonials are not written in they're written quickly. There's a lot of spelling errors. There's a lot of other things that I try to make that look presentable for the person who wrote it, because I'm protecting them. It has nothing to do with me, but I am protecting them, and so that they're not embarrassed by how they write against how somebody else writes it. Number two, I've had my testimonials up there on my website, which wasn't on WordPress right away. It started in 2003, and I've had testimonials on my actual website since then from clients all over the world. So why don't I let people do it themselves? I'm sorry, but I'm not going to just open up my website for God knows what conspiracy theorists wants to post something, or, they're uploading a testimonial and they decide to put hate mail instead. No, I'm not going to allow people, I'm not going to allow the inmates to run the asylum. Sorry guys, it's just not going to happen. I'm at least aware enough to know that people take advantage of other people. If you're successful, if you've, built something for yourself and they're bored, some people like to take advantage. So, yeah, I don't open up the floodgates for everybody to come in and post their own stuff on my website. It's just not going to happen. It is never going to happen. And guess what? I'm still successful. I'm still out there. I am still known for what I do, and I'm still damn accurate many times, most times, or otherwise I wouldn't be able to support myself in this industry. So I wouldn't be able to pay my rent or my bills or what's going on. I wouldn't be able to sustain myself if I weren't on my game. I have repeat clients from 25 years ago. So, you know what? Deal with it. Deal with it. If you don't like it, scroll away. If you do like it, I am here for the duration. And I'm not here to take advantage of anybody or do whatever. The reason I put the testimonials up there isn't for self-aggrandizement. It isn't for me trying to make myself out to be some superstar or television personality or the greatest psychic that ever lived. No. It's to help the next person that reads those to see what I am able to see, what my actual personal gifts are, how I'm able to tap in. Each psychic and medium is different, guys. We all have different gifts that we're born with and ways of communicating those and translating those and putting them out there. And the way that I work is different from the way that somebody else works. So the testimonials have to do with my particular brand, okay? How I'm able to see certain details, and I nail it every single time, guys. Timing. Most psychics aren't good at timing. I'm known for it. So there's other things that I'm good at. I used to be not good at names, but now this past year, maybe it is because of the person I fell in love with that I was able to all of a sudden start seeing names. I never saw names before. If you've been following me here for a long time, you've seen that names weren't like a thing that I did. I don't have names like on the tip of my tongue. Oh, well, what name do you see? Do you see a name? Do you see an initial? That was never the way that I worked. It was always about timing or the actual event or the family members or what was going on or the details in the crime scene. So it was that. But all of a sudden, since I met him, I was able to see names. And that has come up several times in other personal readings I've done for people. So that seems to be like a new thing that was activated. So I have to thank him for that. He knows who he is. And I'm not going to embarrass him by saying his name. And one day he and I will do a podcast together, a couple of episodes, and we'll put it out there for you guys. So anyway, bottom line, I do not apologize for how I see things. And I put it out there. And if it resonates with you, then great. If it doesn't resonate, scroll away. And as far as these crime scenes go, I don't have a lot of fear with this because I have worked with federal agencies, guys, FBI, CIA, no joke. I have worked with these agencies, both of them, on various different case files. Can I say which ones? No. I am forbidden and prohibited with certain things there. And I never have broken that agreement I made with them. You know, when I have worked on very high profile cases, and there are some people out there that don't like that. You know, why is her voice out there? Why, you know, I don't know why. I didn't ask for out of all the psychic things I could have been good at. Trust me, crime scenes was not one that I asked for. In fact, when I first started, I was actually not really pleased that I was able to do this because working on crime scenes is hard. You never smile. You're with victims' families that are crying all the time. I mean, it's not pleasant. It's not like doing a love reading or doing a reading on somebody's career or their job or their purpose or inspiring them. I never smiled. The whole time I was on Haunting Evidence, I never smiled the whole time. And then people are all of a sudden seeing pictures of me smiling. They're like, what's different? And then they finally realize that, oh my God, she's smiling, you know, because when you're around a grieving family who have lost a family member due to murder or they were abducted or something like that, smiling is not appropriate. So yeah, all of a sudden I was smiling after Haunting Evidence because I'm a human being and I smile, you know, and I wasn't overly interested in what people thought about that. So I kicked off Psychic Detectives. I was part of the whole process starting with Psychic Meeting Crime. I helped initiate that whole thing into existence. So guess what? I don't really care what somebody thinks about it. It's great if you have your opinion, but I'm not going to stop it because you don't like it. Um, and I don't make a big deal about it. If you go to my website, you can see what I do. You can see who I am. And the testimonials speak for themselves. And they go back to 2003 when I first started my website. And I actually learned how to do HTML myself from the person she was helping me set it up. And I didn't want to wait for her because I suffer from impatience, so I learned it myself. It took me 3 weeks, and I used her platform and her host that she was using, and then I left there once I learned how to do it myself. And then I started on WordPress right after I started on WordPress, I think in 2011. That's if you go back to my earliest testimonials on there and my posts, it was like 2011. And that's when I started on WordPress and I kept going. I actually knew the founder of WordPress through Haunting Evidence, believe it or not. I met him while I was on location in Iowa and we were talking about images and other things in the case, and you know, it was just fascinating to him and what he was doing. And I had no idea that he was going to be the founder of WordPress. So, you know, I'm fortunate enough to meet a lot of people in very high profile, high power positions, CEOs, billion-dollar corporations. I have been hired by corporations for looking into fraud or looking into insurance uh, cases that they're working on, or employee, you know, um, little conflicts that they're having, or whether or not they can trust somebody that they hired as CFO or something like that. So I get pulled into a lot of situations that I have to remain quiet about. So anyway, getting back to the original, Brian Koberger and Luigi Mangione. My process on how I come up with this stuff has zero to do with how many hits I get on my website, or if you're able to order a reading, or, you know, whether or not I get another television series. I have to tell you that in the past 10 years, I have turned down in excess of a dozen television offers to do my own series overseas, in the UK, in China, in Japan, in Australia. I have been asked. I have been asked by various production companies to head off my own series. I was at ABC for a paranormal talk series to be the host, kind of like Kelly Clarkson does her hosting thing. I went to ABC. I remember having the meeting. I remember exactly what I was wearing. And I met with them, and they wanted to do like a paranormal sort of talk show where I would interview various people. And ABC decided to scrap the project, not me. So they kept in touch with me after that. But I mean, there's lots of things that happen behind the scenes that nobody knows about, and I just ignore them. I ignore what people say, and I am trying to help you guys when you're on social media platforms to not believe everything you read. People get mad. There's usually context behind that, and you have to evaluate each situation as it is. My private life is not up for discussion or evaluation. I do not care what you think. I'm in love with somebody, and that's the way it is, and deal with it. Whether it works or not is none of your business. And it's working fine. It's working fine because the inherent qualities and elements of that relationship are intact, and that's good enough for me. And I have karmic agreements that are none of your business. So stay out of it unless I invite you into it. I have people that are inviting themselves to my future wedding, or like they invite me to their weddings, and I kindly decline. I look, there's a point where the client psychic relationship, I mean, there's a boundary there. And I love you guys dearly, but I will not show up at your life functions. That's not my role this lifetime, to be your friend or to be that celeb friend that shows up at one of these things. Oh, well, we'll pay for it. I had people in Costa Rica I read that were like, please come. And they own a resort there, and please come, and you can stay here as long as you want, for a month, for 2 months if you want. And they wanted me there for their company and their lunch and what was going on, and it's my job to read on these things but not get involved. My private life is always going to be my private life, guys. And anything you've read is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on. So never think you know all about me, or about what's going on, or about what's happening, or for that matter, anybody else out there in social media that has a higher profile. Never, ever assume that you know what's going on because of what you're reading. It's always different. I have many celebrity clients. I do not reveal their names because that is a promise I make to each and every one of them. Very recognizable, high profile clients. And it's in the vault. They're protected. I will never reveal who they are. And it's because it's just not right. I mean, it's just not my code of ethics. I just don't do that. So I needed to sort of mention all these things today because, you know, whether Luigi Mangione is powering his own narrative out there, I'm sure he is, and I'm sure Brian Koberger is also doing the same thing. But put yourself in their place. I mean, if you're incarcerated for the rest of your life, you're going to do the most you can to get yourself out of it. The difference is on these two individuals. One I see didn't do it, and that was Brian Koberger. And I am very, you know, I, for one, since I've been following this for years now, I, for one, am very interested in seeing exactly what it is that he has come up with for his defense, because I want to see, number one, if it matches up with what I had seen. I want to see if this guy that I saw that was in his sphere of friends life actually threw him under the bus, and this woman that I kept seeing with darker hair, you know, more like brown hair, and whether or not she was responsible and involved with throwing him in that mix. You know, and sometimes you can't defend yourself right away. You need time to build a defense, you know. And did he handle himself correctly all the way? Probably not. But I don't think that he was conditioned to do so either. I don't think he was the type of personality that could win the public's sanction the way that Luigi was. Luigi was just like all very groomed and ready to you know, to face his accusers. But the problem is that if he actually did the crime, there is going to be evidence there at some point. And Luigi didn't really cover that up as much as he should have. He did this for a cause. He did this to you know, and sort of illuminate what's going on in the insurance industry out there, you know, and the wrongs that need to be righted. But murdering somebody is never really the answer. It's, you know, taking another life, no matter what they're responsible for, is never really the way to have your voice out there and have your opinion actually mean anything, actually have an impact, you know? There's no impact there because the way you went about it just doesn't make you very viable. It doesn't make you very credible as a witness for that particular cause or a proponent of that cause. So, just my opinion. Anyway, we can talk about other cases here. So if you want to talk about other cases while we're in this, feel free. Just send a request to speak, or I will add the ones that I can see right here. Let me add the ones that I'm seeing. Okay, Shell, I added you. And if somebody else needs to get in here and just ask about a case that we're not talking about, that's fine. All right. So if somebody wants to ask a question, just let me know and start speaking. All right, I'm going to look here to see if anything else will happen with Luigi since his is the newest one. Let me see what that's about. All right, Luigi, what's going on with you? Yeah, again, I see that, he's got the females all wrapped up around his little finger and that whole thing, but you know, he can have his modeling career behind prison walls, I mean, I'm just seeing that there's not. Yeah, he highlighted this cause, but this was the wrong way to do it. I mean, it doesn't really, as soon as it's over, it's like nobody cares. Nobody's looking at the cause that he was fighting so hard for. Everybody's looking at him, and that wasn't the purpose. So he went about it the wrong way. He was shining a light on, the imbalances that are out there in the insurance industry and what's happening and how this country is set up and how only the rich get richer and the other people have to pay for it. So, I mean, it really didn't help his cause. If you're gonna undertake a cause like this, I don't care what the cause is. I don't care who you're advocating for, that you need to be smart about how you design your approach. It has to be within the context of that particular country's guidelines, those rules, that protocol that has been set up ahead of time, that you do it within their framework, or otherwise you're going to get shut down. You're not going to have the audience you wished for. There is a way to do it. There is a way to get known. There is a way to defend that cause that you so want to, you want to shine a light on, and you want to say, hey, this is wrong. This shouldn't be happening. And there are better ways of doing it. Going out and deciding that you're going to 3D print a gun and go kill somebody is not the way to go, guys. I don't care what country you're in. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help the cause. It's actually going to set the cause back a little bit because you went about it in such a way that was not very, was not considered something that anybody could actually get behind. I mean, going around and hurting people doesn't make your cause more well known, even with, the January 6th and storming the Capitol and that whole thing. I mean, violence will only have a shock value. That's it. It does not actually pass legislation. It does not make a company do something right that they've been getting away with for decades. It doesn't actually cause change to happen. There's a way to present it, and there's a way to do it within their framework, but you still see, okay, Michelle found my post. Yay, Michelle. All right, so let me retweet that. All right, I'm reposting. That's all I'm doing. It says my post has been deleted. Why was that deleted? Michelle, did you delete your post? It says it was deleted, and I'm not really sure why. Anyway, Michelle, can you talk? I put your mic on. What's going on with this post? Why is it saying that when I try to repost it? What's going on with this? Why is
I deleted it by accident. I'll put it back.
okay? I'm like, what is going on? I see the post, And it basically
I
says,
thought I did it wrong, and it
it says,
wasn't.
I see clearly, and this was December 10th of 2024. So we're talking like a year and a half ago. I said, I see clearly that Luigi Mangione, turn off your microphone for a second because your fan is interfering. Okay, thanks. I see clearly that Luigi Mangione is unfortunately guilty of alleged murder. Conversely, I sense psychically that Brian Kohberger is not guilty of alleged murder spree. And I actually posted that December 10th of 2024. So, like I said early on, guys, I was onto this. Michelle, go ahead and repost it, please, so that I can repost you or actually copy the image. I'm going to try to copy the image, but I don't think I can.
Yeah, I'm going to try it again.
Yeah, try it again because it's out there, because I want to repost it so people can see. Thank you for searching that out, because you're sort of the resident librarian or court reporter here. All right, so anyway, I am again looking at other cases other than Luigi and Brian Kohberger. And
I did it.
Okay. So let me see what's going on there. Thing, but it gives you a chance to reconnect. All right. So anyway, send your post again, Michelle, because it's not coming through.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, did you have a question about either one of these cases while you're doing that?
You come up with this is interesting.
Well, and I had to explain my background and why I never get too excited when, all hell breaks loose and people on social media are like, up in arms and like these huge fights that break out. You'll notice I handle things pretty calmly. And I take a breath and I'm like, all right, you people need to calm down. It's Twitter. Nobody cares. And yet it's like everything to everybody. And I have seen people fighting over Brian Kohberger. They're still fighting over him. And it's their life. It's like their hobby. It's the thing that they can't stop doing. And notice that my life has gone on since Brian Kohberger, and I still tap back in when I have to. When there's an event that occurs and I have to take a look at it. Why do I have to take a look at it? Because I've been involved in this since the first day it happened. And I have a need to finish things, to complete things, to not leave something unfinished. And that's just not my way. So, people come at me. I mean, I lost a lot of followers that day when Brian Kohberger was arrested. And, people came at me and attacked me like I'm the one that took the lives of these 4 innocent people in that house. And it's just something I am shown in my psychic viewfinder here. I mean, I'm shown something, so I say it. I am not the one helping him. I am not the one assisting him with anything. It's what I am seeing, and I'm relaying what I have seen. That's it. I have no stake in that situation other than, passing on the information as I see it. So, Michelle, I still haven't seen your post yet. So something's wrong with the way you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm trying here.
You know what? Why don't you just DM me? Just DM me the post itself, the link to the post. Send me the link.
All right.
And I will get it up after the podcast. Okay.
I have a screenshot of it. That's what it is. Hold on.
Well, instead of the screenshot, can you send me the actual link to the post?
I got out of it, but
yeah,
I'm very challenged with this stuff. Let me just send you the copy in the DM there, and
while we're on, if you can actually research, you have the date of when it happened. It was December 10th of 2024. So just scroll back.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So, because I spent a lot of time on Nancy Guthrie too. And it's like, yes, there are people that have opinions as to what happened. And am I allowed to say something different from what the majority of people are saying? Again, I don't really care. I try to follow the rules of whatever format I happen to be speaking in, which is part of how you also get legislation passed, by the way, is that you do it within the framework of the platform that you've been given access to. You don't go rogue. You just don't start screaming at people and breaking rules inside. You don't do it that way. That's the only way you're going to be seen. You're going to gain traction. You're going to pass legislation. You're going to have something different happen. Something that you are actually trying to propel forward. You're doing it in a way that will actually move, and you won't get shut down prematurely, see? Or get yourself arrested, or have your project or whatever it is get snubbed because you're doing it because you're screaming too loud. Screaming too loud is never the way, guys. I've learned this from a long time ago. Not that I'm so wise beyond words, but I am wise in the ways of paving the way to something that I need to have happen. And if it's meant to happen, it will if you do it the right way. And all I'm saying is Luigi Mangione did it the wrong way. And it was all about him all the time. And nobody even paid attention to what his cause was because they were all looking at him. So the wrong message came forward with the whole thing. So all I'm saying is that. And, there is nothing that, oh, well, my way is better. And me just, storming the palace, that's better than whatever else is going on. No, it's not. No, it's not. You got to do it within their playground. You got to do it within their format. And then you beat them at their own game. That's all that is. So all I'm saying is, am I right about Bryan Kohberger? Yeah. Will he get off on this whole thing? It depends on how he plays the game. And right now it is a game. It's a game. It's like a chessboard. It's strategy on his part. And how he present, he's only going to get one shot to do this. And can he unravel the mess that happened? I don't think he ever really cared whether he got off for this. He just wanted to storm the palace, and do that thing because he was willing to give up his life for it. I mean, I think he decided early on, from what I can see psychically, Luigi decided that he was willing to give his life for this cause. And if he made it out alive, then he would figure it out then. But I don't think he thought past that moment. I think he just did what he did, what he was going to, next steps. He wasn't really thinking. He was passionate about his cause, but in such a way that he caused harm to somebody else. And a lot of people, because he actually hurt his own cause by doing this. There was a better way. There's always a better way, guys. And violence and shaming someone and hating on somebody and propelling that line of defense, that's not going to help you with your message, or your offense, actually. So all I'm saying is, I'm trying to teach you guys there is a way to get around this. Michelle, I'm still not seeing whatever it is that you're sending to me. So if you send it on a DM, I can't look at that right now. Just let me know if it was sent. If you want to send it to my email, feel free. You know what that is.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's move on. Indigo, did you want to bring up that case you were talking about? Are you on? I added you. I don't know if you're still on. You should still be on. It says you're a listener. Let me add you again. Let's see. I am adding you, inviting you to speak. Okay, you should be on. Okay. So I think you're on now. Indigo, yeah. Hey.
Sorry.
How are you?
I'm good. So this kind of has to do with Luigi in a way because it's malpractice, kind of. But I was curious about the Lindsay Clancy case. It's the case where she killed her 3 children. And she's not trying to prove whether she's guilty or not. She already admitted that she was guilty, but whether she was in psychosis due to postpartum depression.
I
And
see.
she was, I guess, asking for help, and that's what the case is about, basically.
Okay.
So I just want to know if she, I guess, the circumstances around the case.
Okay, so say her name again, because I'll use that for vibration. And do you know the date when this happened?
I think it happened in 2023. I'm not exactly the exact date, but it was in 2023.
I remember this case coming across my feed. It's just I can only do so many cases, personal cases. So I remember seeing it. I just don't remember what the circumstances were. So say her name again. Say Lindsay
Clancy.
Okay, got it. All right, so just relax. Let me see what I see around this. Okay. What is going on with the Lindsay Clancy case? Will she be able to is she trying to get a mistrial? What is she going for?
Well, basically, right now they're in trial and they're questioning because I guess she's been asking for mental, and nobody was taking her seriously, and she had been asking for help, for months until it led up to this.
Okay. And let's see, first of all, if she's going to get some sort of psychiatric or psychological assistance with that at this point, because those are her basic rights. I mean, whether she's guilty or not, those are her rights as a human. So that's the law that was written. So as long as you operate within that framework, you should be okay. So let me see if she'll be successful in obtaining any type of psychological assistance with psychosis, with evaluation, with her physical, her imbalance within her system. Well, it shows a male here that's actually fighting this. It's like in a very, like he is just very ultra alpha male. Females, all they do is complain about their conditions kind of thing. Who is that person?
I'm not sure. I know that her ex-husband was been by her side, so I'm not sure who it is.
It's somebody in the legal system, because it
Hmm.
shows that somebody is actually just, rolling their eyes at her going, "Oh, of course she's going with that defense. Of course she's saying that," and just rolling their eyes. So it looks like it may be the prosecution,
Yeah, probably so. That sounds like the
because it looks like that's what they're doing. They're just rolling their eyes at her and and basically making her out to be a woman that's complaining about woman problems, and it's a anti-female, like, he probably falls into that group of people that thinks that women shouldn't even vote and or have jobs or do anything other than obey their man. I mean,
yeah.
and yeah, no, that's never happened. All right, so we're not going back there. Let me just see if she is able to get her basic rights, to see if
Mhm.
someone will evaluate her and see her and give her some sort of assistance with at least or getting a profile worked up on her so that they can assess her complaint that, she was out of her mind,
The
or
whole case is
mentally.
really sad. I've never seen something so sad before because she was breaking down during the whole testimony. It was really sad.
Wow. Okay. Um, and I see her husband here. What's his name?
Mhm.
Because I see him here.
Patrick.
Patrick. He looks like he's just holding on for dear life. I mean, he looks
Mhm.
like he is, um, I'm not going to admonish him or make him into a person that is less than what he is, or less of a man or something. But it looks like he is just collapsing into his emotions, and he's having some sort of a breakdown himself.
Yeah, because he started off as the prosecution, and then he ended up being really good for the defense.
And it looks like he's having that his depression led up to this whole thing. That's what I'm seeing, that it's part of the history of why this horrific crime happened in the first place. Yeah. I don't know anything about this, so I'm just giving you my take on it. I am
Yeah.
first looks at this thing, and as I look at it, it looks like his decline or his collapse into a personal depression actually led up to the dynamic between him and his wife and his kids and
Mhm.
how this ended up happening.
Mhm.
So he contributed to this event, even being a possibility.
Mhm.
So it's both of them.
Mhm.
It's the environment they created with
Mhm.
each other, and it
Right.
became so toxic. And I see that the wife, she's actually stronger.
Mhm.
She actually has much more of a of a sense of self than he does.
Right.
She was always the stronger with the two of them.
Hmm.
Let me just see if will she be able to say her name again?
Lindsay Clancy.
Okay, Will Lindsay. Okay, here we go. You know, and I even see here that some people were accusing her of just, maybe he was going to leave her, and this was getting everybody else's attention.
Hmm.
And that's all this was. Like, oh, you're just an attention whore and you
Hmm.
just want attention. And that's what this was because your husband was leaving you. I don't think he was leaving anything. I think he was collapsing into a depression he couldn't get himself out of. And I think it had to do with his job, his work, his worth, his purpose, and what was going on there. And it looks like she was trying to hold everything together and
Hmm.
piece it all together. And, it just came to a breaking point. And he played upon her in a psychological way that made her doubt herself and made her want to do away with herself even. Did she try to commit suicide also? Because I see that
Yeah, she did. I guess I don't know the whole story. I saw bits and pieces of it, and I guess she jumped out of a second story, and she's actually paralyzed. She's in a wheelchair. Yeah,
okay, you
so
can
the whole
see I
thing
don't
is
know
just
anything
yeah.
about this,
I only know bits and pieces. So
but I see
I
that he actually talked her into absorbing a lot of the guilt from this, and she wanted to do away with herself, but she couldn't leave her children behind kind of thing. So it was almost like, I need to take them with me. I need to protect them. Um, and as misguided as that was, but it looks like he played a big part in leading up to that decision. So he's just as much a part of this as she was. I'm sorry, but that's what I'm seeing. She be exonerated at any time in this situation for her mental condition. Okay. Well, no. Um, the crime was committed.
Mhm.
So she will spend the rest of her life behind bars and paying for this crime. But she will get that help she needs for her mental state and her psychological state. I also see something happening to her husband.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm just going to be careful about the way I word this. But I do see him taking his own life at some point.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think when this is all said and done and this is over with, he doesn't want to continue on without her, partly from the guilt that he was carrying and partly from his his own innate knowledge that he knows he was part of what led up to this.
Right.
And he couldn't stop himself. He really couldn't. And she wasn't strong enough to know what to do.
Hmm.
She didn't know what to do or how to manage that or how to handle that. So she just absorbed a lot of it like a sponge. And then this tragic thing happened. These souls.
Yeah.
These three souls. Do you mind if I take a look at them for a second?
Yeah.
The three children. Let me just look at that for a minute. Because I feel a need to look at them and see if they're okay. Are they okay on the other side? I don't need their names. I just need to
Okay.
see their souls. Let me just look at them. Yeah, it says that the father knew the whole time. That's the thing. He knew the whole time. Like he was acting in the beginning like he had no knowledge. I'm telling you, he knew the whole time.
Do you see
And
like the medical being any like there being any wrongdoing there? Her medical treatment?
once, okay, you're talking the medical treatment once she was arrested?
No, beforehand, because I guess she prior to her doing this, she was seeking medical.
Oh,
She was
okay.
they
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Let me just see if there was any uh any what do we call that? We call that
They were over medicating her is what the defense is arguing, and that she had been seeking help prior to this happening.
let me just look at that for a minute because I just want to see if there was any sort of negligence
Mhm.
that occurred. Well, this looks like a money grab on their part. So I think that they just quickly diagnosed her, wrote a script, and sent her off. You
Mhm.
know, I think in her particular system,
Mhm.
they needed to monitor how how the meds were actually interacting with her system, her nervous system in particular. And it looks like her nervous system was what was causing the imbalance.
Mhm.
Okay. And what I see is that this was a money grab on the part of the medical community that was administering care prior to this crime.
Mhm.
Um, will they be found
Because
negligent?
they were also saying that she was diagnosed with having bipolar and she was on the wrong medication, which would do the
Yeah.
opposite. It would make her worse.
Okay, this looks like um, okay, I'm just going to say something because I know nothing about this case, but I'm just going to say what I'm seeing. It looks like the answers that she gave when they did the intake on her when she
Mhm.
first went in, and they did the intake on her, that the answers, like either the husband was there with her and
Mhm.
answered some of it incorrectly for her,
Mm.
something like that, because it looks like that some of the answers, even during the intake, were incorrect. Like, that's how they determine what disorder she has.
Mhm.
And, some of the answers were just made up. I mean, I just don't
Mm.
get they were manufactured.
Mhm.
So, and I get that her husband was either there or
Mhm.
filling out his own form on her as a witness or something. Um, but I am getting that the wrong data was collected on, the wrong, like, they ask you certain questions about, oh, do you sleep? Do you have nightmares?
Mhm.
Or whatever it is that they were asking.
Mhm.
And I get that the wrong answers were given for those questions, that it was incorrect, that it wasn't even in the realm of real.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so from the get-go, they didn't even have the right information about her. But that still shouldn't excuse them from running a blood panel. And they should
Yeah.
be able to assess her on a purely physical standpoint. But I also get that they also dropped the ball with her care afterwards, after they wrote the scripts, and
Mhm.
they would just refill prescriptions. I get that they didn't even hardly listen to anything she was saying. And I don't think she even brought it up. I think she was
Well, there's one that she was in contact with a nurse, and from what I gather, I've never seen it where she's actually texting the nurse, and the nurse has all the text messages, and she was like seeking help, like explaining that this medication is doing this. This is what I'm feeling like. I'm still having racing thoughts. This is still, and they weren't taking her seriously.
And I get that, not only was it ignored, it was, again, it's a money grab. That
Right.
was the main reason, and that they didn't have time to deal with somebody hallucinating after
Hmm.
they wrote the script. It's like, take your meds and shut up and
Right.
call us, when you need the next one. And I get that they just kept refilling prescriptions,
Hmm.
and that was it. I don't get that they listened to any intake or any follow-up was done properly. Um, are they able to prove that? That's another story because, as long as everybody remains calm in their delivery of how these cases
And a
go.
lot of times it was like over the phone, or if they didn't see her. So how can you tell if looks anxious? How can you tell that without her physically being there? That's my biggest thing, that I'm just like, that you can't prove that somebody's anxious if you can't see them, like if they're fidgeting or whatever. That's why
Well,
I'm just
I even get that when they were doing it remotely, sh there was something there. What I'm being shown is that they were at a she was paying a lesser fee, or it was in a lesser category where they're not supposed to pay that much attention to that category because 'cause they're not paying full price, you know?
okay.
So it was either something where she had lesser care because it was on a lower tier
Hmm.
within her insurance plan or something. I don't
Hmm.
know, but what it looks like is that, she got the most attention during the first visit, and then after that, her husband, like, I get that the answers were all just mismatched and not accurate and not lining up with what was actually going on.
Wow.
And so then the tragedy strikes where, look, this is what can happen if you have a mental imbalance and somebody doesn't take you seriously.
Right.
These things happen.
Hmm.
You're given medication that can actually trigger an event where there is no control. And
Hmm.
it's not, and then it becomes superior court, it's like then it becomes a question of, you know, is it the fault of the person or is it the fault of the medication?
Hmm.
And how do they determine, like, what's that criteria for determining if it was so much of the medication that it actually took over the person's personality, their mind, their actions? And
Hmm.
that's a fine line. Right now, um, there's no real, uh, there's only guesswork right now because they don't
Right.
really have guidelines that they can go by.
Hmm.
Um, Let me just see. I do see that she won't be able to get out of the actual crime, but
Hmm.
I also see something happening to the husband after this. Once this trial and all this goes away, he he no longer feels, and I hope he changes his mind, but he no longer feels like he should be part of this earth.
Hmm.
And again, all this because somebody got greedy. Somebody
Hmm.
had their hand out. And is this right? No. Can we do anything about it? Yes, but it has to be done the right way. And
Hmm.
getting overly dramatic with your deposition doesn't help. Um,
Hmm.
let me just look at a final thing with her. Like, so now they're trying to determine whether or not it was manslaughter versus murder.
Whether she was psychotic or not psychotic, because in Massachusetts, they already determined she's not saying that she didn't do it. She's saying whether it was because she was over medicated, whether it was malpractice by her treatment, because she was constantly explaining, because it was all, they have the text messages between the nurses, the doctors, and
Yeah.
so that's what they're trying to determine, if
All
she
right,
was psychotic or
let
not.
me see if she gains traction for that. I don't see her escaping prison. I do see that happening, but let me see if it goes to a lesser sentence. All right, there's the judge. The judge realizes that this was mismanaged and it's unfortunate, and talks about the lives of those children. So many lives were affected by this one thing that could have been avoided.
Mhm.
All right, there it is with the husband. And the reason the husband came back over to the defense side again is guilt, because I see him here. He realizes that he was part of the problem and not the solution. And there is this situation with her, the marriage, the fighting. And she just didn't know what else to do but to give up. Like, was she over medicated to the point where she lost control of her actions? Let me ask that. All right, this is showing something else in her system other than pharmaceuticals. Also, was she drinking and taking these meds?
No, that she didn't want to be on meds at first, was what they were saying, and then they put her on like the SDR or something, which is for and if she doesn't have bipolar and she's on the wrong medication, it will actually trigger you to go into psychosis.
Okay.
So
And I was drinking or something else, because I see another element in her bloodstream that would have caused it was more than an imbalance. It actually caused like a psychotic break. It actually did cause a break. Like in her sense of reality. Like her sense of reality was broken.
yeah.
And she didn't even have a sense of reality anymore. It was almost like she didn't even know if she was alive or dead. It was that.
Yeah, that's exactly when she came back out of her whatever, when she was at the hospital. She didn't even know what happened, I guess.
And I see that that this did happen with this. And was she misdiagnosed? I think they were negligent. They were lazy. They just didn't. She was on a lower tier, not paying as much as somebody who was paying full price kind of thing. Maybe it was like a clinic type pricing or something. I don't know, but it looks like it was something where they weren't making enough money to sit and listen to her.
Right.
So, will they find the misdiagnosis as the reason for this crime in the first place? Will the misdiagnosis be the reason? Well, again, I see the judge here, and I see saying that this situation could have has cost so much dear life, that, in talking about that. And then I see that, going forward, I do see something will change, like some sort of law will be passed on criteria, as far as like dispensing of medication in the mental health field. Like I do see something will happen. It will take a year though. It says it will take 1 year. before they come up with the correct verbiage for this.
Mhm.
Of course, they don't want to cut out the entire pharmaceutical industry because they're not ready for that yet, but they also don't want to just give them free reign over everything. So I
Right.
think there will be some sort of an audit system,
Mhm.
or, every time one of these antipsychotics is prescribed, that they have to go through another evaluation through a different uh, facility, or a different entity has to sign off on it or something. Like, I get, like, some sort of an audit has to happen where
Right.
if they are ordering those drugs, like, it's not just that facility, it has to be someone else signing off on it that's outside that facility.
Mhm.
So at least that will happen,
Right.
you know? But
Yeah.
um it's just, what's sad is that so much loss, so much
Mhm.
precious life was lost for something so greedy, something so stupid, self-serving,
Right.
you know? And, do we as humans go through this? Yes, we do. You think back and you look back on a situation once it's happened and you go, God, that could have been so much simpler if somebody would have A, B, C, and D.
Mhm.
But a lot
Yeah.
of times people aren't looking at that. They're just going on with their own lives and their own concerns, and nobody's really looking at doing the right thing anymore. It's more the easiest thing so they can go home.
Yeah, because either way, she still loses because her kids are, and she has to live with what happened. So I mean, nobody wins in this case at all. So,
Well,
and
this
it's
is
just sad.
this is this is a situation that's not only complicated because of the elements of it, but um, it's it's a it's it could cause other laws to go into effect where there is sort of,
Mhm.
an oversight committee when you are prescribed a certain antipsychotic, that they have to check and make sure that you check all the boxes for why that's being dispensed.
Right.
So I see an oversight happening from this, but it looks like it's going to take about a year before
Mhm.
it gets enforced. But this is interesting because it does play into Luigi and that whole thing. Thank you
Mhm.
for coming on and asking that. I mean, my job isn't to be empathetic towards this as much as it is to oversee the information and what's happening with the actual case. Um, and a lot of times it sounds like I don't care because I'm talking in a very clinical way, but it's the only way that I can see what's going on. So it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that I don't care. It just means that I have to see all angles of this in order to see it correctly.
Mhm.
Uh, but thanks for bringing that up because that actually does relate to Luigi in a big way. And this is what happens on the other side of it.
Mhm.
Not the person that, but the victim of, you know,
Mhm.
on that side of the thing. So it actually shows us the other side of that scenario. Um, the other karmic puzzle piece that fits in there, and you see what can happen when this is allowed to be going on unchecked,
Mhm.
unmonitored, which is why the oversight will happen. I do see it
Mhm.
coming into play. I don't see that the actual law will go into signature, into signing until 2028. And it looks like with the next series of elections. But that will go into play. That is on the table. That will come across on the table as a bill. It looks like
Mhm.
a bill that will get passed. It's going to take from now until then in order for it to get passed, though.
Well, that's good.
But it's introduced within
Yeah.
the, so it'll take about a year to get introduced,
Mhm.
6 months and to a year. between that time frame it's introduced, and then they have to vote on it, and it goes back and forth between Congress and the House, and it's going back and forth. So it'll take a little bit, but I do see something happening from it. It always takes that one case that makes that happen. That's how the Amber Alert got started,
Hmm.
and that's how other laws came into being, that you have this one crime or this one situation that happens, and something has to be in place for that.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Miss Indigo.
Uh,
Very good question. I give you high marks for your question today.
no, I just thought that case was just so sad. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like because nobody wins either way. It's a sad case.
Well, a lot of times that's how karmic events are. You don't
Mhm.
see the sense in it. Like, what's the sense of that? But
Yeah.
what happens is that it starts a domino effect that a couple of years from now, you'll see that that's where it originated. So, for that reason, like I look at, Natalie Holloway and that situation, and now look at it like, where sending your kid off to like an island somewhere so that they can have spring break. Like, look at how people are different now because of
Mhm.
that situation. And it causes individuals and families, and it causes you to have like you become alert where you were complacent,
Mhm.
and that's what happens with that. So, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So, any other question from you before I release you?
Nope, not that I can think of. Thank you.
Okay, honey. Thank you so much for coming on and asking. All right. So, let's take a look at any other questions. If you want to ask a question, submit a request on any case file. Doesn't matter what it is. I mean, we're just talking about how all these, it's not so much the case itself, but it's more about the the law, and the law of the land, and like whether or not some of these laws will be changed, whether or not this will continue for the rest of our lifetimes while we're here, while we're breathing, or will a change be affected, but it's there are certainly things broken within this system, and we all know it. Otherwise, we would have nothing to talk about. If this were all perfect and this were all working as planned, and, we couldn't find fault with it, nobody would have any conversations on social media anymore about this. I mean, would be a nothing burger. Um, so you find yourself like just asking about the irony of some of these situations, and how corruption is just running loose and rampant within all of these agencies, and how did this come to be, and how how is somebody not doing something about it? Well, it takes more than one person. It takes a village, it takes a country, it takes, and yes, you have to get the word out, and you have to shine a light on it and make sure that people see that there is something wrong with this. But taking another life is not the way. That is not the way to shine a light on the inadequacies of our uh, judicial system, and how that is, and the law, and adhering to the law of the land. There are other ways of making that known. I don't care what industry you look into, there's going to be some sort of corruption or imbalance or something wrong with it. Even with psychics, I mean, God knows there's a bunch of, you know, charlatans out there. And look, if I was going to be a charlatan, I wouldn't be living in an apartment right now. Okay. I would be on a cruise ship somewhere speaking to you from some resort, you know. And I wouldn't do the amount of work that I do and just, you know, throw myself into it. So you have to look at each person, each event, each agency, each situation, and you have to, you know, use your common sense, you know, with what's happening. Anyway, I think we can, you know, I'll look at Nancy Guthrie later. If somebody has a Nancy question right now, ask it, or forever hold your peace until the next one. But, you know, you can ask about other cases when I start doing one case or two cases. You can ask about other cases. That is certainly fine. So if you've got a question about another case, now's the time to ask, because, you know, I can't, you know, I got people asking me these questions on social media later, like, oh, can you look at this case, or can you look at this case? And the time to ask is right now, guys. So until I shift over to YouTube on a permanent basis to record these, this is what we have to do. I have to do this in order of my life. I can't put the cart before the horse. Okay. So I'm doing the best that I can. And I'm willing to, you know, take a look at whatever case files you want to look at. As far as Nancy Guthrie goes, let me just get a quick couple of cards here just to get her in here. Nancy Guthrie, how far are we with the progress on that case file? Okay. All right. Well, again, I am seeing, we'll just call him T. I'll say that name. And I am seeing that, you know, he's got friends in the department. And there is some sort of concealment going on there, as far as, you know, like just hold firm, just hold still, just stay quiet, just stay down until this blows over kind of talk. So that's what's going on right now. I mean, he's sweating it, but that's what's happening. They're just telling him, hey, look, just let this blow over. There'll be other cases that you know, take the place of this, and just wait until this blows over. And will anyone be arrested for this crime? Nancy Guthrie. Right now, no. Will anyone, will her body or what happened to her actually come to light? Well, it does show an alliance. It shows that someone got paid off, and something about that will happen where it starts unraveling. So it won't be like a Natalie Holloway thing where, you know, we'll never really recover her body or her remains or what's happening there. It'll be where we might find Nancy, and the person that got paid will put that up as far as like some sort of goodwill gesture in order to make a deal. Like the words I'm hearing, some sort of deal is proffered and pushed across the table. Seems to be what's going to happen with this case. Is it the result we would all like to see, where humanity wins? No, not always. And that's the sad part. But that's why we're here. That's why we're here doing the karmic journey, guys. That's why we're here. Is there a time frame where we're going to learn on Nancy Guthrie? Says yes. So when is that time frame for the unraveling? And there it is again. It's a deal that's made. And again, I'm seeing the T name. So a deal is made. A deal will come across the table, a lesser sentence, a lesser charge, maybe accidental death, something like that. Not like this premeditated thing. Okay, there's the deal again. And you know what? I think the deal is just pushed because they don't want to see this drag on into infinity. You know, they want this case sewn up, put away, filed, and let's forget it ever happened. So that's my update on the Nancy Guthrie thing. Is that coming soon, that deal? Is the deal that's going to be offered to this individual, and I'm seeing T's involved in this, so is that deal going to come across the table soon? There's the deal. There's the prosecution. Okay, there's the message. And the message seems to be coming. They're talking about it now, but the actual deal, once they're going back and forth on it right now. So I think when we get to October 1st, we're going to be seeing some sort of a deal that comes across. The deal that actually gets signed, though, is altered in a couple of ways October. That's what I'm seeing there. All right, you guys, thanks for coming by tonight. I'm going to do my weekly astrology psychic predictions for all 12 signs tomorrow in the afternoon sometime. And I'll have that up on all the platforms, including YouTube. And again, I wish you guys be safe out there, please, because clearly our system is broken. And I wish everybody a really good Friday evening. Okay, talk to you next time.